Hello, Michael. It is Sunday, October 8th, 2023. It's about 5:13 p.m. And this is day 21 of a fast I've been on. Liquids only, no solid foods. It is not a water fast. It's liquids. Liquids such as coconut water, coconut milk, hot tea, spring water. Those are my 4 liquids that I've used, and I have used them creatively. This video is an update on the progress I'm making in this fast. So I'm doing very well. I've been able to work 8 plus hour shifts in a day job, a job that oftentimes requires physical exertion throughout those 8 hours, moving around, stooping, bending, climbing stairs, descending stairs, moving boxes around, going to different work areas, functional work areas, and generally moving about. And during this 21-day period, which hasn't ended yet, during this 21-day period, I have lifted considerable weight as part of my day job, but also in private as well. Not purposefully, but there are times where you have to lift weight. And so one of the things I have discovered during this fasting interval and this fasting period is that you can be active, you can move about, you can be an entirely functional individual. And so you can do the things that you would normally associate with a daily routine involving meals and involving normal dietary intake. So I'm not devoid of dietary intake. My intake comes in the form of the liquids I mentioned earlier. Coconut water, for example, has electrolytes, and that is the primary reason why I chose coconut water as an element in my fasting routine. I don't consume as much coconut water as I did in my previous 13-day fast. And so, for the most part, I have limited my intake of coconut water. I will cover that in a little more detail further on. But I've had coconut water at least once a day, not every day, but every couple of days I would have coconut water. And the primary part of the day that I would consume coconut water would be primarily at the beginning of the day. So I would have one 11-ounce carton of coconut water. I had to think about that for a minute because I'm mentally thinking about what is written on the label of this coconut water brand that I normally get, which is Simply Truth coconut water from Kroger's. I chose it because, number one, it's from Thailand, and I am partial to Thailand sourced coconut water. It's non-GMO, it's organic, and you can buy it as a 10-pack at Kroger's for about $10 to $12. I say $10 to $12. It depends on if you have a discount, a sale going on that day, or if you're using your membership card and getting a discount that way if one is offered. So roughly $10 to $12, you can get a 10-pack, and that 10-pack can last you anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. In my case, the 10-pack that I had previously purchased about a week ago, I still got about 6 cartons left. So, you can make it stretch depending on how much coconut water you consume. The other coconut water that I've consumed is from a brand called Harmless Harvest. Harmless like a dove, and Harvest. This is a totally unscripted discussion I'm having here, so I don't have visual aids. I don't have screenshot add-ins. But Harmless Harvest. Now, Harmless Harvest generally come in, let's say, 16 ounce and in some cases 32 ounce canisters or bottles. And so if you're trying to watch your sugar intake, you have to be more careful with Harmless Harvest. What is different about Harmless Harvest compared to the Kroger Simply Truth brand is that Harmless Harvest is sweeter. It's sweeter. All of your organic non-GMO coconut waters that are your basic ones, they have the natural sugar from the coconut itself. So that's why the sugar in those is acceptable. What you have to watch for is the amount of sugar. So you have to watch the amount of sugar. And so if you get the 16 fluid ounce can or bottle of Harmless Harvest, you're generally good consuming that entire bottle, or maybe you can consume half of that if you're trying to watch your sugar intake in line with, let's say, keto inspired guidelines. I don't really follow any guidelines other than to try to watch my upper limit on sugars that I consume in a 12 to 24 hour period. And I will put an addendum to that here in a little bit. But if you end up getting the 32 ounce bottle of Harmless Harvest, then you have to watch the serving size. So, serving size about 8 ounces, you're looking at roughly 14 grams of sugar. So if you're trying to keep your sugar upper limit about 20 grams, then again, you want to consume, you want to measure out 8 ounces and be done with that. Put the remainder in the refrigerator, but you want to consume the remainder of it the following day. I'm not one of those that believes in coconut water leftovers. The potency and the vitality of the coconut water, based on my understanding, is on a time limit. So you need to consume coconut water within a 12 to 20 hour period, 24 hour period. So you just have to be cognizant of that if you're in that range. So that's coconut water. I like to mix in cocoa powder with my coconut water. That makes it taste very well, although Harmless Harvest coconut water goes down very well. The Kroger brand, I find, tends to benefit more from cocoa powder. That's not an issue in my case, or in my own sense of things. I find that rather acceptable, because I would rather my coconut water have less sugar naturally, have naturally less sugar, be a natural variety, and give me more control over the quantity of sugar that I intake. So, for example, if I wanted to boost the sweetness of that Kroger brand, then instead of consuming 8 or 10 ounces of that coconut water in a carton, I would mix 2 cartons together. And then that way I would get additional sugars, and I would also be able to add as much cocoa powder as I would like. So I'm spending considerable time on this discussion about coconut water because there are some tips and tricks here that I'm about to lay out. Number one, when you're fasting, one of the things that people watch for is their level of ketones and ketosis. I mentioned that in earlier videos, and then I decided, let's say last week, that based on my understanding, there is a point of diminishing returns with ketones and ketosis. That is to say that, as far as I understand, you cannot sustain very high levels of ketones and ketosis the entirety of a 30-day or greater fast. So, what I came up with personally, as I did not really consider this as part of my research going into this fast, is to change my metabolic uh, situation intentionally so as to reactivate that ketosis cycle, right? So what that meant was is that while I did a great job over, let's say, a 16 to 18 day period, keeping my sugars strictly below 20 grams and my proteins below 10 grams, I decided a few days ago that I'm going to do an injection of, I'm going to elevate my sugar levels. So I consumed more of that Harmless Harvest brand of coconut water, for example, as a way to do that. And what that did was it caused my body to start to shift back gently into consuming sugars as opposed to fats for fuel for, let's say, a period of 6 to 8 hours, right? And then that would generate a new ketosis cycle. That's just theory. I don't know if that is scientifically rigorous, but that's something that I decided I would try out and trial out. And so I found that that was very useful to me. So that is one of the addendums I wanted to put out there about that. So the last thing I will say about coconut water, and this is my segue into coconut milk, is that there is this brand of drink that I really like, and I had it this past year. This is outside of the fasting discussion. There's this brand of drink that you can find at Kroger's or Walmart. You can't find them at every Kroger or every Walmart. You can definitely find this brand at Sprouts, and you can find it at Whole Foods. The brand is Remedy, Remedy, Remedy. And Remedy, in my opinion, makes absolutely fabulous concoctions based on coconut milk or almond milk, you name it. I like their chocolate-based varieties. As you could probably tell from my previous videos, I like chocolate. And so Remedy makes some great concoctions. I think on a liquid fast, and I didn't do it for this fast, but I did consider it. I actually considered it yesterday, but I changed my mind. But an alternative to all the different protocols that I've been doing is to simply get a case of Remedy, whatever concoction, and you can do that as a liquid fast. That would not necessarily give you the other benefits I spoke about in my other videos, but it would put you in a fasting state to the extent that you would be able to suppress appetite and get all of your nutrients and be able to manage your fast that way. I may do that at some future time. I need to look at that in more detail, but as far as a core fasting tool, because that's what these liquids are, they're tools. As a core fasting tool, using something similar to what Remedy offers or using Remedy's products, I think that would be a great approach. The one Remedy product that I really like, and I got to try this a couple of days before my fast, was it's called a Keto Shake. I still got the bottle, right? And I'm going to do a video that's a more structured video about fasting that I mentioned my last video that I did before this one. I said I was going to do a video about that. So this is not that video, but there's one particular. I kept the bottle, and because I want to do a screenshot of it. But there's this one uh, formulation that they do. I think it's the best formulation for a liquid that you can consume, that you can get out of the store, that has everything already mixed up. But I needed to mention that because I used that as inspiration for another cocktail that I created during this fast. And that is, I took the small carton of the Simply Truth organic coconut water that I mentioned earlier. I took one carton of that, and I took about 6 ounces of coconut milk, Simply Truth coconut milk. It has about 4 ounces of sugar, so when you combine those together, you end up with an aggregate of about 14, but I used less than the recommended serving, so I ended up with less than that. But I found that the combination of coconut water and coconut milk gives the overall drink somewhat of a creamy consistency. And then when you add in the cocoa powder, and I actually did something different this fast with the coconut water and the cocoa powder. I would pour in the coconut powder, the coconut water, then I would put a little bit of the cocoa powder on it inside the Contigo flask. I would let the cocoa powder sit. I would let it sit for about 5 minutes. And I'm starting to do this with more things. Allow the additives to saturate. Rather than just jump right in and start mixing things up. Let it saturate for about 5 minutes. And that gives a much better consistency. And so I did that first, and then after it saturated, I did my normal shake up of the coconut water with the cocoa powder, and then I added in the coconut milk, and then I shook that up overall, because the coconut milk that I used, it was refrigerated, right? And I actually do coconut milk 2 ways. When I first drink it out of the little canister I get from Kroger, I get a canister about this tall, and then I pour about 6 to 8 ounces of that. I drink that room temperature as is, straight from the canister. And then the leftover, the remainder, I put in the refrigerator. But in its refrigerated form, the cocoa powder doesn't bind to it very well. It clumps. So that's why I recommended shaking up the coconut water and the cocoa powder first, so then when you add in the coconut milk, you don't end up with any complications in terms of the consistency. I do have a technique for dealing with that involving a milk frother. You can get a low-cost milk frother from Walmart for about $10 or less, and you just press a button and it does a machine-based stirring, and you can get rid of clumps pretty easily with that. It's not 100%, but it works well enough if you do some preparation. The main thing is, even if you have cold liquid, allow the liquid to sit at room temperature for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and it becomes a little more manageable. So that's the end of the discussion on coconut water and coconut milk. Next thing I want to talk about is tea. So like I said in my previous videos, I worked with Sibyl AI from Secret Energy and Seven Bomar, and I asked it several questions where we came up with a variety of teas that when you combine them together will give you electrolytes. And I found that to be adequate in the initial weeks of my fast, but I saw diminishing returns on that. And so I'm still consuming tea, but I'm consuming tea more from the herbal, let's say, production, the herbal infusion that it provides, the nutritive herbal infusion that it provides to my body, but not as an electrolyte base. So that brings me to my final liquid. spring water. As you know, spring water has natural minerals in it. And I recommend you stick with spring water for that reason. One spring water that I've been using is Deer Park because that's available at Walmart. I also do the Walmart brand of spring water, so I have no issue with either one of those. But I also try other things as well. I've tried Mountain Valley here recently. This is the first time I've had Mountain Valley spring water. I find it pretty decent. The one that I like the most, though, that I found recently and I've tried out is Bonneval. Bonneval from France. I've looked at online reviews of Bonneval, and not everyone likes the taste of it, but I do. I like Bonneval. It's really nice. But the spring waters by themselves are insufficient as an electrolyte source, in my opinion and in my experience. So there is a liquid formulation you can get called concentrates. It's from a company, it's a bottle you can get, it's called Trace Minerals. It is a blue bottle with a white stripe on it, and my more structured video will go into that. Some people call it 40,000 volts, but I didn't get the 40,000 volts, right? So if you're looking for this, start to search for 40,000 volts, but I got the more concentrated one, right? The one that's used for sports, used for athletes. 10 drops of it in about 8 ounces of water gives you 72 plus minerals, all electrolytes, and then some. The first day that I tried that a couple of days ago, I felt a boost all over my entire body. I had a brief personality change, kind of shocked some of my coworkers, but I found pathways opening up in my body. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And so I then realized that if you look at it a different way, you can do a water-based fast exclusively with the right spring water and these electrolyte drops. You can also use electrolyte powder. And if you so chose to do so, it would be a simpler, more streamlined, more economical way to do a liquid-based fast than the options I have chosen heretofore. But I wanted to cover those elements in this discussion. And again, I wanted to reach this milestone, day 21 in a fast. Actually, I wanted to do a 21-day fast from the beginning in my previous fast, but I decided for a variety of non-physical and non-health reasons to cut it short. There was some spiritual considerations at that time that informed me that it was appropriate to limit that fast to 13 days. But this one, 30 days is my minimum, and I have, on that basis, 9 more days to go should I decide to conclude the fast on what would be October 17th, would be the 30th day. I haven't decided if I will conclude the fast on October 17th. I do have a business meeting on October the 18th. So, but I'm lucid, I'm fine, and so I don't see reasons at this moment for me to rush to solid nutrition. But I want to say one more thing before I conclude. And thank you to everyone who has listened to me in this discussion. And it is my heartfelt hope that this is of benefit to you, but also that the recording went through, because if it did not, I can assure you that I will not do a new recording. But the last thing I want to talk about is what's called refeeding syndrome. Refeeding syndrome. That is when you break your fast the wrong way, and that can be extremely perilous. That can be more perilous than the fast itself. So I'm putting thought into that. That's going to be the most important decision that I make, because people have had some very, very unfortunate outcomes with that. So it's extremely important that I put most of my energies now in terms of what I'm thinking about, in terms of how I break this fast and in what way. So I'll give you a short note on what I'm thinking on that. So the best methods I've heard so far on breaking a fast is to do it slowly. When I broke the 13-day fast, I don't think I was in it long enough to where when my first meal was chana masala from an Indian restaurant, and I know the owners of this Indian restaurant, and I told them what my situation was. They made sure there was a formulation of chana masala that would work with my system. So I am so thankful to them for that. Thank you. But this time I need to be much more careful. I'm not going to do solid food day one on when I say that I now have made the decision to end this fast. I need to do this. It's like I'm up here, right? And I need to do it like this. It needs to be a steep decline. It needs to be a gradual decline, right? And so it's going to probably start off with some kind of vegetable broth. So I'm probably not going to go to a restaurant. No fast foods. What I call fast food, I call them all fast food now. Even if it's like a nice restaurant, to me, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but to me, all restaurants is fast food compared to cooking food yourself. Anytime you go somewhere else and you decided you didn't prepare the food, to me, that is fast food. But I'm not going to go to any restaurants when I break my fast, and I'm just going to probably start off with vegetable broth, even though that's still liquid. So I will technically still be fasting as I break the fast, but it's going to be a slow rhythm up to introducing some solid food. And I'm probably going to introduce probably some kind of leaves and then some beans or something like that, right? And the beans that I'll probably do is I'll either sprout the beans myself, or as I start doing some kind of little salad thing, right? Chop up some very fine salad, put whatever I consume. I might even do a smoothie. Like I said, these are just thoughts in my head. I haven't structured it fully yet, because that's like 10 days off, 12 days off, whatever, maybe longer. But technically, I'll still be fasting for a few more days as I reach that decision point. And then slowly introduce some leaves, some kind of spring mix, finely chopped maybe. And then as I scale it from there, the fast will technically start to get broken as I do that, and as I switch to some kind of bean. And now I might go to a restaurant for that, probably Indian restaurant, and get dal tadka. I might do dal tadka, right? I will make a special request that the dal tadka has no dairy elements, right? So no ghee butter or anything like that. So I'll either do that, or I will do chana masala, or I will do some kind of chickpea salad. Or if I don't do that, then I might go to Chipotle and do a custom bowl. I do those all the time with Chipotle, consisting of black beans, the medium salsa, maybe some greens, and guacamole. That'll be about it. Eat that very slowly. That would probably be like a second, third, or fourth meal, like on day 3 or 4 of breaking the fast, right? But on day 1, it's either going to be something like some kind of finely chopped greens, and then as I move into day 2, because I have no need for food right now, where it's like I could technically eat just 1 meal a day and not even bat an eye on it, right? So there's no rush to like go into like 2 meals or anything like that. So day 1 like that, day 2, some kind of bean meal. Day 3, maybe some kind of soup, right? I got a couple of soup options. I could do some kind of ramen dish without noodles, right? There's a nice ramen restaurant that I have access to now, and I can get one of their really nice dishes without the noodles, right? And just treat it as a soup. I've thought through that extensively, and see how it goes. But that's the status update on me and this fast, and I hope you find this well. I sat here on purpose because I had the sun going. I've gotten about a total of 4 hours of sun gazing and sun absorption a day. So I've been doing that a little bit more regularly. I grounded today, and so I got the ions from the earth today, and it's been a great day. So um, I'm off today, I'm off tomorrow, and trying to make a productive start to the upcoming week and weeks ahead. And I hope this finds you well. See you later.